Coronavirus. There's a lot of news. Get all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Karen Ciolin with the latest on COVID-19. Both Ontario and Alberta are under states of emergency in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. That means gatherings of 50 or more people are banned. And a public health emergency has been declared in BC. That province is reporting more than 80 new cases and 3 more deaths in patients with coronavirus. Meanwhile, Ontario is waiting to find out if a 77-year-old man actually died because of the virus. He only tested positive after his death. Saskatchewan is confirming its 8th case of COVID-19. The latest patient is someone who attended a dental conference in Vancouver. That conference has led to a number of cases in other provinces and was used as an example by Canada's top doctor to show how large gatherings can amplify the impact of the virus. Dr. Theresa Tam says she's concerned about community spread and is calling on everyone to do their part to minimize contact with people. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news. Get all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Karen Ciolin with the latest on COVID-19. There have now been 8 coronavirus-linked deaths in Canada. Another 3 people have died in BC, hours after Ontario announced its first death. BC's top doctor says 6 of those deaths stem from a care home in Vancouver. BC, Ontario, and Alberta are all under public health emergencies. A massive economic aid package is set to be unveiled tomorrow to help Canadians through the COVID-19 crisis. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he's also thinking of briefly recalling Parliament to approve the emergency spending, and he hinted at a possible delay in the upcoming tax deadlines. Costco will begin controlling the number of customers allowed inside its stores. The move follows a surge in business. The wholesale retailer says limits have also been placed on in-demand products, and it's working with suppliers to make sure there's enough for everyone. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.
COVID-19 taking its toll on the entire world, and it's even affecting the divorce rate. We'll talk details in a little while. And we will continue to have hourly updates, by the way, to make sure that you're kept up to speed. Paranoid Freak, it's the Trues, and it's on 92.1 City.
92.1 City, keeping you up to date with all things COVID-19. Hourly updates at the beginning of every hour, 24 hours a day. Check out 921city.ca for more info.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news. Get all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Karen Ciolin with the latest on COVID-19. Canada and the U.S. are reportedly in advanced talks about closing the border to non-essential travel. The plan could be announced as early as today. The closure would still allow trade to continue. A public health emergency has been declared in BC. It's the 3rd province to do so behind Ontario and Alberta, along with 2 Manitoba First Nations organizations. The latest numbers have Canada with more than 560 confirmed cases. 8 patients with coronavirus have now died. Our new world of social distance and self-isolation has more retailers temporarily closing their doors. Hudson's Bay, Saks Fifth Avenue, Toronto-based Holt Renfrew, Claire's, H&M, Uniqlo, and Indigo Books will all shut down for at least 2 weeks, and they all say employees will still be paid for their scheduled shifts. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news. Get all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Tim Chapman with the latest on COVID-19. Canada and the U.S. are reportedly working on a joint statement that will be issued within the next 24 to 48 hours, announcing a mutual ban on non-essential travel between the 2 countries. A travel restriction would be designed to ensure that cross-border trade and commerce can continue. WestJet Airlines says some of its passengers may have been exposed to people infected with the novel coronavirus on recent flights. The Calgary-based company made the announcement on their website and social media Tuesday, listing the flights and affected rows. The company says a total of 14 flights between March the 12th and February 28th had passengers on board who tested positive for COVID-19. The Federal Court of Canada has indefinitely adjourned all hearings that were scheduled to occur between now and April the 17th in a bid to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, British Columbia has declared a public health emergency after reporting 3 new COVID-19 deaths. The province now has 7 fatalities during the novel coronavirus pandemic. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.
City News for people who care about their city.
Winnipeg has 4 screening locations for COVID-19, and they're constantly filled with people. But when should you actually go to one of these centers?
For people who want to stay informed.
All international travelers returned in the last 14 days should self-isolate for 14 days.
For people like you.
Officials are reminding residents that it's still possible to go out and enjoy life while limiting the spread of the virus.
City News, every night at 6 and 11 on City TV.
How Winnipeg spells rock. CITI.
92.1 FM.
The capital of rock.
92.1 City.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news and all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Meg Black with the latest on COVID-19. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has launched an $82 billion pandemic battle plan to help Canadians ride out the economic consequences of COVID-19. Canadians will now have until June 1st to file their taxes, and if Canada Revenue Agency determines that you owe any taxes, you'll have until September 1st to pay. And provincial governments took major steps today to combat the virus. Both BC and Saskatchewan declared states of emergency, while Yukon and Northwest Territories, as well as Newfoundland and Labrador, declared public health emergencies. Canada's chief medical officer says we've started to see a sharp rise in cases, and the number of provinces have reported cases with no links to travel. Dr. Theresa Tam says people should expect COVID-19 to stick around for a while, as well as a second wave. And Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he spoke with U.S. President Trump today, and they mutually agreed to close their shared border. Both leaders stipulated that this update will not affect trade between the two countries. Keep listening for the latest updates as they happen across Canada.
Boy, do I miss Gordaddy. Boy, do I miss Gordaddy more than ever. Tragically hip and poets in 92.1 City. You know, they probably would have had a house concert on yesterday or Monday. Played some interesting things. Gord would have made some incredible statements. The hip were always ahead by a century. Their lyrical storytelling and their can rock stop made them such a unique proposition in this country. And they disguised their braininess in a seductive veneer of down and dirty blues. And I wonder what AC/DC are up to. A year and a half ago, they were in Vancouver. We know that. They recorded an album. Don't know when it's ever going to be released. Don't know if there was to be a tour. Let us go back and enjoy a finer moment from Brian Johnson. And Brian Johnson's had some fine moments. He lets loose. He rocks it on. For those about to rock, we salute you. So they were scheduled to tour this country in May with the Sheepdogs, which is a really cool bill. Black keys, gold on the ceiling. So that is on hold. I don't know if when things get rescheduled, if that will happen again. That would be really cool. Earlier this evening, we played some Offspring. Had a text from somebody who says, I can never get enough of Offspring. Here's some Offspring, because we need to have some fun too, don't we? This is Come Out and Play in a Rock Ride on 92.1 City.
92.1 City, keeping you up to date with all things COVID-19. Hourly updates at the beginning of every hour, 24 hours a day. Check out 921city.ca for more info.
An all-new transit service is coming to Southwest Winnipeg April 12th. It's big, it's shiny, and it's blue. Introducing the Blue Rapid Transit line from Winnipeg Transit. Experience all the benefits Blue has to offer. Bigger buses, heated stations, and revamped routes. It's the most reliable transit service Winnipeg's ever seen. Plan your future trips on Blue at winnipegtransit.com. The all-new Blue from Winnipeg Transit. Coming to Southwest Winnipeg April 12th.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news and all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Meg Black with the latest on COVID-19. Alberta has announced 22 new cases of the coronavirus. That brings the total in the province up to 119. In response, the Alberta government is providing $50 million for people forced to stay home due to the pandemic. Meantime, Ontario announced 25 new cases today, bringing its provincial total up to 214. British Columbia, with the most cases confirmed today at 45, has the highest provincial total of 213 cases. And in response Yukon, several provincial governments took major steps to combat the virus today. Both BC and Saskatchewan declared states of emergency, while the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and Newfoundland and Labrador declared public health emergencies. And Health Canada is waiving some of its usual regulatory requirements to increase the supplies of hand sanitizers, disinfectants, swabs, and personal protective equipment such as masks and gowns used to contain the spread of COVID-19. And today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and U.S. President Trump came to the mutual agreement to close their shared border to fight the spread. But they said that the closure does not apply to trade. Keep listening for the latest updates as they happen across Canada.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news. Get all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Meg Black with the latest on COVID-19. Manitoba has announced 2 new cases of COVID-19. That brings their total up to 17, including 4 that are still presumptive. Meantime, Ontario is reporting 2 new cases this evening. This in addition to the 23 the province reported this morning. The development brings the total in the province up to 214. And British Columbia announced 45 new cases in the province today. That brings their total up to 231. The federal government will deploy $82 billion in direct spending and deferred taxes to help every Canadian get through the pandemic. And Canadians will now have until June 1st to file their taxes. And if Canada Revenue Agency determines you owe any taxes, you have until September 1st to pay. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he spoke to U.S. President Trump today, and they mutually agreed that closing the Canada-U.S. border is necessary. Both leaders stipulated that this update will not affect trade between the two countries. And Canada's chief medical officer says that we've started to see a sharp rise in cases, and a number of provinces have reported cases with no links to travel. Dr. Theresa Tam says that we need to be prepared for more than a single wave. Keep listening for more updates as they happen across Canada.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news. Get all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Meg Black with the latest on COVID-19. There are 705 confirmed and presumptive cases in Canada. British Columbia stands at 231 confirmed cases, including 7 deaths. New numbers into Ontario bring the provincial count up to 214. Alberta follows with 97 cases and Quebec with 94, including 1 death. And Ontario announced it is closing provincial parks as a result of the outbreak. The province says the closure includes parking, camping, day use, along with public buildings on park lands. These closures will be effective March 19th through to April 30th. And Canada's chief medical officer, Theresa Tam, says there is a sharp rise in cases nationwide, and multiple provinces have reported cases with zero link to travel. Dr. Tam says given these recent developments, we need to be prepared for more than a single wave. And today, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says he spoke with U.S. President Trump and came to a mutual agreement to close the Canada-U.S. border. Both Trudeau and Trump announced that trade will not be affected by these border closures. Keep listening for the latest updates as they happen across Canada.